It looks like the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser will be taking its final voyage on September 28th after just opening in March of 2022. So instead of lowering the prices like everyone's been basically complaining about since the start, they're not going to do that. And the prices is, for a family of 4, it's $6,000 for 2 nights, which is insane.
Steep.
Yeah. And actually, Jason from the Sidebar Cantina, one of our fellow pod friends, he just went, and it seems like it was pretty fun. Like, if you go all out, get a costume, get like a backstory as a character, because it's super immersive, but you have to play along. You can't just like try and play it cool and half-ass it. If you want to have the full experience, you really got to just nerd out and go all in.
Be in the moment. Pretend you're living in Star Wars.
Yeah. Yes. He was like his friend was a senator, and he was like the bodyguard for his senator, so his friend was like bossing him around the whole time and stuff. So it was pretty funny.
And Kylo Ren comes up to you and talks to you like you see on TikTok and stuff like that. But it looks so fun, dude. But I don't know anything about the hotel. Galaxy's Edge is still safe. That'll stick around, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good. And I imagine, though, I've heard they could still have it as a hotel, but kind of drop the whole immersive experience and just have people pay, because it's right next to Galaxy's Edge. Like, you can walk. It's on the property of Disneyland and Disney World, so they should definitely still use it for something.
So they shut down because it was too expensive and nobody was buying tickets.
Yeah. So that's
so weird.
There's another part to this.
Okay.
They're in that middle of a cost-saving plan right now. Like, thousands of cast members have lost their jobs. They announced that a plan of moving 2,000 cast members to Florida, including most of the Imagineering company, was canceled. And they also said that on an earnings call on Disney Plus and Hulu, they would be removing a lot of shows. It was probably like 30 plus. There was the Willow show that got canceled after a season. They're taking that off. The Marvel's Empower, which is like where each episode was on a different female hero. And also Marvel's Project Hero, which is another kind of small show. But yeah, we talked about it a little while back, where Disney Plus was hemorrhaging money every year, like millions of dollars. So they're really trying to cut costs.
Yeah, put shows on there that actually get people invested, not just that crap they've been doing. Like, no one cares about anything they're producing because nothing is that quality. They just have so many properties coming out. So I just don't think that's working for them because it's all so mediocre. So hopefully that has something to do with just cutting back, thinking about making really good shows or really good movies instead of just putting so much content out there.
Yeah, oversaturation.
Yeah. Welcome back to Why So Sidious, a nerd podcast. Today we're coming at you with a Week in Geek with a couple pieces of news, and we're going to go over some of the DCU James Gunn projects and digging into what we could expect from that. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Why So Sidious Pod. Email us at whysosidious@yahoo.com and interact with us. Ask us anything, suggest anything for our episodes. All right, it's just me and Lub today. And our first piece of news has to do with Kang Dynasty.
So it looks like they have switched writers. Originally Jeff Loveness, sorry, not Loveless. Same thing. And this is, of course, is the writer of Ant-Man Quantumania. And right after that movie, he was, remember all those interviews coming out where he was like, I'm trying to build up Yelena and Monica, and he was basically like telling a lot of what was going to happen in the movie and all the characters he was trying to work with, and kind of talking too much. And after seeing Ant-Man, we all weren't the biggest fans of it, and the tone of that movie would not work for a Kang Dynasty. So I'm kind of glad he's out.
Me too, big time. Because Ant-Man Quantumania is not the type of written movie that I want my Avengers movie at all. Like, he decided to write the Avengers level threat being Kang. An army of ants are going to be what defeat him. Like, just that alone.
Yes.
And in
his
general,
first appearance.
there's pacing things going on, and it's not the same as when you watched Captain America Winter Soldier and then you found out that those Russo brothers are going to direct Avengers or Captain America Civil War and then Avengers Infinity War. That's
Right.
the kind of thing that it's like, okay, well, that movie was pretty much amazing, not a lot of flaws, and I could definitely see them doing Avengers. Not the case with Loveness, so that is a great addition by subtraction there. I can't wait to see who will write it.
I know. Because I know isn't Michael Waldron, the Loki writer, he's doing Secret Wars, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
The Rick and Morty guy.
And that's
his new right-hand man.
Yeah, that gives me more comfort. I liked Loki more than most. So, yeah, that's a win in my eyes. I want the best writer for Avengers 5. And they got kind of an uphill climb. Who knows what's going to happen with Majors. He went to court, so if he's guilty, which it looks like he might end up being guilty, even if it's whatever the reality of the situation is, whoever says what, they might have to recast him or just go with a different villain, but that's impossible. It sounds like recasting would be their only option.
Yeah.
So I guess recast Kang, get a new writer. This movie's starting to look a lot different. Okay. And then that's not the only person that was relieved of their duties for their respective franchise, because our boy Lindelof, who was going to write a movie or direct a movie, I'm not sure, is
just right.
And he's out too.
Right. So we kind of speculated that maybe him and Kathleen Kennedy weren't really getting along, not seeing things eye to eye. And I guess some of his script has leaked. First of all, he does say he's open to returning to Star Wars in the future. So he will give it another chance down the road. But apparently his movie was going to be set 60 years after Rise of Skywalker. There would be an older Rey training 2 Jedi, but it wouldn't be played by Daisy Ridley. They were going to bring in an older woman to play her, obviously. But I guess Daisy Ridley was down to come back, and KK kind of changed her mind once she realized she could. This kind of seems like Duel of the Fates 2.0, to where Duel of the Fates was Rise of Skywalker before Rise of Skywalker, and then they kind of threw this movie together last minute, and that's what we got. So it might be happening again, but it would have been really cool to, like 60 years after Rise of Skywalker is a good time period to start over, not 15 years. Because you're going to have the sequel haters not wanting to go and the Rey haters not wanting to go, but set farther in the future, it's a nice fresh start.
No, I was actually excited at that news because Rey was not what I did not like about the last trilogy we got. I like Rey, so seeing her 60 years after Rise of Skywalker, that's a really good timeline for Grogu. So if he ends up going and meets Rey, he's going to be kind of our middle-aged teenage Groot, so
right,
doing more with the Force, displays of power, being efficient in battle. That could be cool. Who knows if they have plans to use him or if he's going to die off in the movie.
No. But I guess the 2 younger Jedi were the main characters. It wasn't about Rey. It was about these 2 young Jedi, and Rey was the teacher, which is also cool.
That is, yeah. So she would do what Luke Skywalker couldn't do and raise a bunch of Jedi without trying to murder them.
In their sleep.
Yeah.
A little bit of Andor Season 2 news. The final 3 episodes will cover the last 3 days before Rogue One. So that's pretty cool. It's going to be a pretty wild ending, and it'll lead perfectly into Rogue One, like Rogue One does to A New Hope, I think.
Dude, that's great news. It's funny. We're just building these blocks backwards, and it keeps getting better.
Yeah, right.
That seemed like, how did you make it Rogue One end so perfectly to lead so perfectly into a movie that was made 30, 40 years before?
I'm sorry. How does Rogue One begin? Like, how is Cassian doing at the beginning of the movie?
He was on some super urban planet, and he was learning about the Empire, and then he ends up killing that guy. I don't remember. Galen Erso, that's where Orson Krennic came down and shot the Erso wife and brought Galen back in, which was another funny way they do the building blocks backwards. Catalyst. It ends perfectly. Like that scene in Rogue One was a perfect next chapter in Catalyst. It's pretty cool.
That's cool. Yeah. I like how they do that. You got to give Disney canon credit for that stuff.
Yeah, and Andor's just so good. So if it's just this high quality leading towards a perfect little lead into Rogue One, for sure. All right, so what about Gladiator 2? We have some casting. What did you think of Gladiator? Because I freaking love Gladiator. It's a classic.
Dude, it's an amazing movie. Joaquin Phoenix, right?
Yeah,
Is the
villain.
Yeah. Yes. And of course, Russell Crowe.
God, he makes you hate him so much too.
Oh my God, he's a prissy little asshole. Yeah, dude. Yes, iconic movie. But they're doing another one, Gladiator 2, and it is Ridley Scott who did the first one. So it's same creative mind behind the movie. And this cast is getting pretty thick. We have Pedro Pascal, Denzel Washington, Digimon Honsu, who is Korath from the MCU, and a couple. I mean, you notice him. He has that really deep voice. Joseph Quinn, who was Eddie in Stranger Things, one of our favorite characters from the new seasons.
Yeah,
and Paul Mescal. I recognize his face, but I can't remember what he's from. But I mean, just with Pedro and Denzel.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. That's already a star-studded cast.
I'm surprised Russell Crowe wouldn't come back in some sense. That'd be kind of cool.
That was my question. Yeah. Do we know anything on timeline when it takes place?
25 years after.
Oh, shit. Oh, yeah. Russell's bye-bye. No, he's going to be really old.
But back in that day, he died at 45.
Yeah, they don't do no Pilates. They don't juice vegetables. He's a goner.
But yeah, I'm excited for that. It has been a while since we've gotten like a good ancient battle movie.
Yeah, like a solid, fully adult, like Game of Thrones kind of thing. It's been forever now that I think about it.
There's been some bad ones too. A lot of them, like, Exodus and King with the Jamie Lannister.
Yeah, and the one with
Christian Bale did one that was pretty mid.
Adam Driver had one, didn't he? With
The Last Duel, that was decent. That was a little different.
I haven't seen it. I do want to, but we're not going to get into it. I do want to see it.
Right? Yeah, it's a very. I think that's Ridley Scott as well.
Yeah,
might be wrong, but
and Prometheus.
Yeah, it's
we were just about to watch Prometheus today. That's Ridley Scott.
Oh, I love that movie.
That's a good movie.
Yes,
I had last time. When I saw that movie in theaters, it was me, Kenny, and Tanner. And it was a funny night because I crashed my car on the way home from that.
Oh,
I tried to park and didn't put on a parking brake when I parked at Kenny's house.
Oh, no. So you always remember that movie?
I always remember that, yeah.
That's hilarious.
But, yeah, we don't have anything like adult, like, that's...
with good quality. There's a lot of, like, mid stuff, but nothing like Gladiator.
No, I was just thinking of that. Game of Thrones does something pretty special. Like, the way that we love Marvel so much because all the interconnected characters and how they do such good character work with individuals, and then how big it is when they cross paths. Like Game of Thrones does the same thing Marvel does, except it's fully for adults. So I think that's why it's like the perfect blend of both worlds.
Right.
Well, let's move on to DC. We have a possible casting for Lex Luthor, and that is Nichalous Hoult, the dude who plays Beast in the newer X-Men movies. And I don't know what else he plays in.
He was just in The Menu, which is with Anna Taylor-Joy and Ralph Fiennes, where they go to like this, crazy restaurant, and he plays a creepy, weird character. I liked his acting in that movie a lot. Okay,
so do you think he could pull off a Lex Luthor?
I do. Like, first people were thinking he could play Superman, and I'm like, he has the look for sure, but I don't know if he could be Superman. But Lex Luthor deserves, because in the animated movies, he's good. Like, he's solid. But Jesse Eisenberg, his portrayal in Batman vs. Superman was a little Jim Carrey, Riddler, over the top kind of, corny.
It was different. It was not very Lex Luthor-esque. I do like it because I think I just love Jesse Eisenberg, but it was not a very Lex Luthor-y vibe. Like, what he accomplished was, but his acting and execution of the character was not him. Like, he's he's way more like calm and calculating. And so, yeah, it just didn't match.
Yeah, I would almost compare him to Thrawn in a way because he's cunning and smart, but he's not powered, right? He doesn't
Right.
have superpowers. He has, he has his suit he puts
Yeah.
on
He's
sometimes,
always
but
wearing the suit nowadays too.
right.
You rarely see
But
the
yeah, kind of
suit.
Thrawn-esque.
Yeah. With he's a little emotional towards Superman too. He's a little crazy, but just a tiny bit more than Thrawn.
Yeah, exactly. Thrawn's more level-headed.
Yeah.
If we do get Lex Luthor in this Superman movie, it would be cool to bring back Idris Elba as Bloodsport. He was in the newest Suicide Squad movie.
Yes. And
So
Harley.
it could be a prequel.
Yeah, there's a couple people coming back like that weird.
Polka Dot Man?
I don't know. It's that weird rodent. that standing rodent.
Weasel.
And Waller. I mean, the show Waller. She's coming back. So I don't think everything's out of the question. It seems like his Suicide Squad is coming back because I think Peacemaker's supposed to come back. So I think it's almost like you want to count that movie as canon, but I'd expect that team back for the most part.
Yeah. And Lex Luthor needs like a mid-level villain to mess around with Superman. And Idris Elba, perfect. Big star.
I don't think he'd be a Superman villain.
Well, like the mid-movie villain, not like under Lex Luthor.
Oh, yeah. Like how they would put a bunch of different villains in movies. Like they're going to have a lot of villains to introduce. So I think each movie is going to have at least a couple small villains, for them to like take out at the beginning of the movie or whatever, just to introduce some people, build the DC rogues gallery a little bit. Okay, but on Superman, do you think any certain villains could be the villain of this movie?
It's kind of hard to tell with James Gunn, because I feel like he's gonna do something off the wall, something people aren't too familiar with. That's what he's good at, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think? You know these Superman villains.
Like you said, it's hard to tell. And I don't think you're going to do Zod again. I don't think you're going to do Doomsday again.
Right.
So I think you could do Brainiac, which would be right up James Gunn alley.
Yeah.
And a less likely, but I think would be super cinematic would be Wraith, he was like a Kryptonian that also escaped, but he landed on Earth a few dozen years earlier than Superman, but the government pretty much kept him under wraps, kept him well fed because he would do missions for them. He would pretty much accomplish super secret, crazy missions, and then he would go back underground and hide for decades, and he became a villain. But it was a super good story in the comics, and it'd be someone no one would expect. And like I said, cinematic would be a really cool villain that we haven't seen yet. But
he looks badass.
Yeah, Wraith is a monster.
So his strength is superior to Superman's. He was able to stop Superman's punch without any effort and kick him halfway across the continental United States.
They do. They kick you in Japan and you land in like Australia.
That's hilarious. At least he kicked him on solid ground, not in the middle of the ocean. That was nice.
Yeah, so it's hard to say. You can never tell with James Gunn. That run with Wraith, that villain I was talking about, that's from a story called Unchained by Scott Snyder. Just as a recommendation in general to prepare you for kind of a cooler Superman. I don't think he's going to be that glorious, hopeful, like Captain America Superman. James Gunn's, I'm super confident will do the character really well. So that's a good comic to check out. Superman Earth 1 is like a perfect origin story for Superman, along with super good art and super good action. J. Michael Straczynski wrote it. He did like Spider-Man, some of the best Thor.
Do you think James Gunn's going to do an origin story for Superman, or do you think we're going to get where he's already going to be Superman, right? Maybe some flashbacks.
That's a tough one. If it was Spider-Man or Batman, I'd say no, because we've seen it like 3 times each. Superman we've seen twice though, but at the same time, I have a feeling they'll just do little flashbacks, kind of like Man of Steel did. I don't think they'll focus too much on origin because it'll be the third origin after those 90s Superman movies. I see them creating the whole universe with most people in their positions as whoever they are, Batman, Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I think we're just going to jump right into the middle of it.
And I think James Gunn's going to get most of his influence from Christopher Reeves, because he talks about that. I think that was number 2 on his all-time superhero movies when he did a top 10 list or something. So, and that was kind of the movie him and his dad bonded over. His dad didn't understand why he like loved these comic books so much. So this like Superman comic was like the one that they
Yeah.
related with or something like that. So
Yeah.
I think he's gonna go old school, I feel like. But it can't be like Zack Snyder's Henry Cavill. It has
Yeah.
to be different.
I think it'll be more hopeful, more colorful than that.
Yep.
Yeah. He did a good Star-Lord. He made Star-Lord serious throughout Guardians 3. And that worked out pretty well. So if you make someone
and it was
like,
still funny.
Yeah, and he still had his comedic timing there. Yeah, James Gunn, he's good at the balance. So
He did very, very well at that.
So another thing is just random celebrities are going online and saying that they have seen The Flash and they have loved it. Random like Tom Cruise and Stephen King random. People that don't really talk about comic book movies. Stephen King might have talked negatively about comic book movies in general. That might have been someone else. Yeah, everyone's saying it's super good, dude.
It's pretty wild. They did that first screening like a month or more
right
before the movie came out. That's risky.
That's risky.
They're trying to get the hype up.
Show some confidence. There's nothing but good things. Nothing but good things being talked about this movie. Cannot wait. But again, how do you do this thing with James Gunn? Like, you're resetting a universe. You're not going to use Ezra Miller. So your Barry Allen might be confusing. We haven't seen any news about a Flash movie as far as the 10 projects that he released. So it's interesting. Then again, in the comics, you had multiple Flashes, so he could just go with the Wally West choice or something like that. But it's still kind of a weird pickle because this Flash movie is doing the Flash story with his mom being murdered and his dad going to jail for the murder of his mom, even though he didn't do it. This is the Flash story. So James Gunn would have to redo this story because it's completely central to the character, to Barry Allen's Flash at least. So I'm kind of thinking they might just leave it as it is for Barry Allen. He'll be stuck in in Crisis on Infinite Earths, a huge comic event. Barry Allen sacrificed himself to save the universe, and he literally disappeared from comics for like 15 years. And it was a huge deal when he came back, literally 15 years later as Barry Allen. It was a big return right before Blackest Night and all this. It was a really cool time for DC, but I could see him doing kind of like that. Whatever happens at the end of Flashpoint, their Flash is gone. He had to sacrifice himself to put the universe back together. And Barry Allen's Flash will be gone. James Gunn's DCU's Flash will be Wally West.
Yeah, I wonder how much James Gunn had to do with this movie. He came in at the end, maybe tinkered some things, added a little scene at the end or two. But overall, they might be wasting Flash's best story. Like, this is his, like you said, this is his main story. And it's a good one, going back in time to save your mom and creating an entire new universe. And it's big. It's a very big story. And there's, they're going to have an entire reset after this. But I do understand that the plot also works for that because of how they're, creating a whole new universe.
Yeah. No, for sure. And the thing is that story about his mom being murdered is tied directly to the Reverse Flash, which is his ultimate villain, like one of the coolest DC villains. And I don't know if they're doing that with this movie. They haven't hinted towards a Reverse Flash. You just see the other version of Barry Allen who wears a darker suit. No hint of Reverse Flash, even though he is the one who killed Barry's mom in the comics, and he's the guy. So when James Gunn does his Flash, I guarantee Reverse Flash will be one of the things very soon, along with his new Flash. But yeah, it's just weird because you would have to redo this story again with the right villain, unless the Reverse Flash is part of this movie and we don't know it yet. Maybe it'll all make sense when we see the end of this movie, and maybe we were already going to know who our new Flash is. Who knows? Probably not.
Right.
Or maybe
I think that
maybe when he does return years down the line in the DCU, it'll be Grant Gustin. So we'll have kind of that emotional. Some people who will watch the CW thing will have that attachment, just like when Barry Allen returned in the comics, because you couldn't do it with Ezra, but you could do it. There's a lot of people who liked that CW Flash. So a lot of people would be stoked if Barry Allen returned and it was Grant Gustin.
Yeah, he doesn't get in trouble, right?
Yeah, he's a good kid.
But I still think that the whole DC animated universe, it starts with the Flashpoint paradox. And that's probably one of my favorite ones. I've almost finished all of them, but that's one of my favorites. It's sick.
It is sick. And that's also...
You get Thomas Wayne. Yeah. Thomas Wayne and Reverse Flash and all the... It's dope.
Thomas Wayne comes back like 10 years later in this, when Bane takes over Gotham and somehow Thomas Wayne returns and helps Bane just destroy his son. So they take over Gotham for a while. It's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He's a villain.
Yeah. Just randomly, I feel like Gal Gadot has a chance to return as Wonder Woman. I feel like she's one of the ones that might stick around.
I could see it. I mean, she looks like Jason Momoa is Aquaman and Gal Gadot is Wonder Woman. Like, their movies, not the greatest, but they definitely pulled off the casting in DC. Like, Ben Affleck was a great older Batman, Henry Cavill, perfect Superman, and then Aquaman and Wonder Woman. They nailed the casting, not the movies.
Yeah. I loved Jason Momoa as Aquaman, but to me, it didn't feel like Aquaman. I think in the DCU, it will be a more comics accurate Aquaman. He's got short blonde hair. He's personality wise, Jason Momoa did just fine. He doesn't have a very strong personality. He's definitely like the king. He plays the king in the comics, more like Namor from Wakanda Forever. But yeah, we just don't know anything about Aquaman or Flash and James Gunn's plan.
It's all some random movies for now, but
yeah,
I believe in him after Guardians 3.
Yeah. And for the Batman movie, I'm going to guess the villain. And I'm going to say Hush, who is this weird dude who wraps his face in bandages like a mummy, and he's super smart. And it's a really cool comic story. And it's like a short 12-issue story, easy for beginners or newbies. Easy for anybody to pick up and read this story, but really cool villain. Someone we have not seen yet. Someone we don't really expect. There's so many rogues we might expect. So I'm going to put my money on Hush. Will be James Gunn's first Batman villain in The Brave and the Bold. Now, it's spoilers if people out there don't want to hear, but he was an old friend of Bruce's childhood. So he grew up and he was a surgeon, and that's how he knew so much about Batman to be a pretty good villain. And Batman had no idea who it was for a while. It actually took place right before Under the Red Hood when Red Hood returned. So he thought it was Jason Todd for a second.
Ooh.
But I could also see, well, let's kind of jump to the Batman too, because again, we're going to have two separate Batmans coming out. Robert Pattinson's sticking around for an Elseworlds DC Batman movie. Brave and the Bold, I'm thinking Hush, but Batman 2, I'm thinking Mr. Freeze, but I'm also thinking Penguin's going to keep climbing the ranks and dominating Gotham. And I think Penguin might be the ultimate villain in Batman 2. But Mr. Freeze is up there.
Right. They gotta bring Mr. Freeze back and do it right. Oh, I would like to see Ben Affleck's script make the light of day one day. Hopefully James Gunn takes it over. Maybe let Ben Affleck you talking about that. Let Ben Affleck direct this Brave and the Bold movie.
Yeah.
Please. He's a great director.
Yeah. He came out, I think he had a post or something in an interview. I don't think it sounded like he's going to do it. And I think he's distancing himself from these franchises for a while. It sounds like he has absolutely no interest, which sucks because he literally has a script already. And Deathstroke is the villain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a Zack Snyder fanboy. I forgot.
Real quick, do you have any idea who you think might be the Justice League villain, like the overall big bad for the first phase? Gods and Monsters.
Gods and Monsters. Dude, I wish Darkseid, man. I wanted to see Darkseid's story end after Snyder Cut, but I don't know. It's hard to say. I'm gonna say Darkseid. He's just gonna go back and do it again. Pull it off. He's gonna say fuck you, Zack Snyder. Snyder. I'm gonna do it right.
You're eventually gonna do Darkseid. I mean, that's the Thanos. You're definitely gonna do it. So I don't know if it's gonna be soon. I have a feeling he'll be more of a Justice League 2 or 3. Yeah, like Thanos, Avengers 3, right? It is tough because like you can't redo Darkseid that soon. You're gonna have to wait a little bit. But when they talk about the Lantern movie, they're talking about uncovering a mysterious threat. Sounds a lot like the Blackest Night, which is these black rings that turned dead people into zombies. But I don't think you could do that in Justice League 1 because a lot of the theme of that story is death and the emotional ties to those you love. So when they're brought back to life, a lot of crazy stuff happens. Like key characters that died in the past get brought back to life, and that emotional change in the heroes like gives them more
Endgame
power and stuff like that. Little different,
kind of like Endgame.
But
yeah, same stakes.
Kind of, because a lot of these people are already dead. Those rings are coming to pretty much wipe out life in the universe. So they attach to dead bodies, rise the dead. So it's like a zombie army
Sheesh.
of like black rings. It's crazy. But you need to know the characters by that time, and you need to have some big deaths by the time you do Blackest Night. It was just a big part of that story's life and death. So that kind of rules it out. But a couple possible things is Sinestro. And that mysterious thing they could be uncovering in the Lantern show could be Parallax, which is the entity of fear. That might be the mystery. I don't think he'll be the villain, but he's on the list. Lex Luthor. I think, like I said, maybe for the Superman movie, I would maybe go Brainiac or Wraith. But Lex Luthor is definitely going to get introduced, at least. He might be the main villain of Superman, and he might be the main villain of the Justice League movie. He might be the Legion of Doom. He might have everybody, Sinestro, getting together, whatever villains are introduced. So you could have Lex Luthor and his powered team of people. I could talk about this forever, but we'll save it for another one because we're going to get a lot more news, and we don't want our speculations to run rampant over the galaxies meaninglessly.
But but we might get a Superman delay with the writer's strike.
Yeah.
And Zaslav got booed at a commencement speech in Boston University.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Poor guy. Just how long as they're not booing James Gunn, he's going to freaking make WB a lot of money. WBD, whatever it's called now.
Max.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds like a porn show. All right. Well, that wraps it up. Thank you for joining us today at Why So Sidious podcast. And look out for our ranking of MCU trilogies. Check out our bottom 5 MCU movies, where the hosts start from the bottom of their MCU list and climb up towards our favorites. But we started our bottom 5, and it's still fun to talk about because it's Marvel.
Commander JD, the time has come. Execute order Y So 66.
Initiating. Commence. The world is ours.